All right, hello. What's up? What's up? What's up? Hello, everyone. Once the ads are done, hold on, let me turn the music down a little bit. Okay, there you go. Hello, hello, hello. Had to run that ad, so hopefully the ads won't run for like about another hour. So we should have some good time. But welcome everybody. This is my lecture, I guess you could call it. I'm wearing my Sakura Nights t-shirt in honor of Shibukawa Nanba, who made the methods that I'm trying to use. Essentially, this is me translating a 2-hour-long video, actually 2 different streams that Shibukawa did of teaching some VTubers how to score Mahjong hands in a bit of a more simple way. It's still, you know, it doesn't make you not know things, but it is a bit of an easier way of going about scoring that I think is a lot more intuitive than just trying to learn everything off rip. So I decided that it'd be good for me to try and hold on. This light's a little bit too much going on here. Hold on. But yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing. Let me figure out this sunlight thing. I don't know where that's coming from. Okay. It looks better now, though. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Okay, so essentially, I'm gonna go through these slides and kind of explain things. If you guys have questions, I have the chat open over here. We got 8 viewers. What's up, everybody? Hopefully this stream is helpful. Yo, it's that guy Carter. What's up? What's up, Tangy Too Tall? How's it going? How's it going? Yeah, I'm trying to go through this. Hopefully it helps if you guys have questions. I'm gonna try and like stay on a different slide a little bit. Woo! What's up, Torpid Mugro? Also, thanks for the Prime sub that you gave a little bit ago. I don't think it came up, but this essentially, I'm gonna go through these slides. If you guys have questions, again, put it in the chat. There's a few points here where there are practice problems. In that case, just try and like write down the scores somewhere, or you know, you can put your answers in the chat, and then I will switch to what my answers are. I haven't gotten around to 100% checking them, so they should be correct, but they might not be. Alright, but generally, I know how to score, so, you know, because of this method. So hopefully this helps you guys a little bit. So let's just get right into it. This is Riichi Mahjong scoring, Score Like a Pro, by me, Carter, aka StarPlaysMahjong. The methods are adapted from the pro player Shibukawa Nanba of the Kadokawa Sakura Nights and Saikoi-sen. I should have I have a picture of me with him. I met him before in person last summer, but I didn't put that in the slides, unfortunately. That's a bit of an oversight. Anyway, so basically, Riichi scoring is not scary. I know it is scary, but it's not really that scary. What's up, Edria? How's it going? Everyone say thanks to Edria. Edria gave gifted a bunch of subs last time. Very helpful, very happy. And anyway, Riichi scoring is not scary, or it doesn't have to be scary. Basically, you know, a lot of people are like confused by calculating fu. They try to calculate fu all the time. It's slow, it's complicated. Remembering the entire score table for all of the different fu combinations up to like 70, 80, 90. Going well, nice, nice, nice. Ready to relax, and yeah, I'm also ready to relax in a bit once I'm done with this. Although this is pretty relaxed, nice and chill. We got the nice with the music popping. Essentially, you know, if you try to learn scoring calculation this way, it becomes impossible to understand. I didn't finish writing that, but learning this way is actually really unnecessary. So learning scoring hands in a more intuitive manner, so that way you can recognize patterns and get to scores more easily without having to go through the convoluted method of calculating fu all the time. So the source material is, again, Shibukawa Nanba. He's a member of the M League team, Sakura Nights. And the Nihon Pro Mahjong Kyokai, aka we know them as Saikoi-sen, they have US pros now. So he streams this method of teaching VTubers on how to score hands with the videos entirely in Japanese, and auto-Japanese to English subs don't translate Mahjong terms well at all. The auto-Japanese subs aren't even that good at it, so then translating those subs to English makes everything like even worse. So I decided that I tend to see a lot of US players overthinking scoring and or just straight up refusing to learn it, partly because it's so scary. So I think it would benefit the US English-speaking Riichi community if I translated these concepts to English to try and make it a bit easier for some people. So here's the link to the YouTube video. It'll be on the slides if you guys want to watch it. But if you don't know Japanese, I don't know how well you're going to understand what's going on. But hopefully you might be able to see some of the similar things that I cover here in that video. There's two different videos. This is like the second one. So essentially, the method right now is I'm going to teach you very basic methods by throwing a lot of things out. So, all right, we've got 11 viewers now. So essentially, what I want you to do now, we're going to pick these back up later, but for now, you throw away 3 things. First is Pinfu / Chitoi, or 7 pairs. These yaku are special scoring, and they have some exceptions to regular rules, and they make things more complicated. So we're going to ignore them for now. The other thing we're going to do is dealer scores, because it just basically increases the amount of things you have to learn at once. And then once if you learn the non-dealer methods, you can kind of apply them to the dealer scores pretty much the same way, and then you don't have to learn as much at the same time. So we're going to ignore dealer scores, and the last thing is obviously we're going to ignore Fu. We are going to learn all these things, but for right now, Fu is hard to pick up and calculate quickly, but there's a way that you can score most of these hands without Fu, and then we'll basically add it on at the end just to, fill in the gaps. So basically, let's start by looking at the very basic review of like what scoring is in Riichi Mahjong. So there's 2 different ways to win hands. When you're ready, you have 10 pi, you're in ready hand, you win it from a player, another player discards a tile that you need to win, and you're not in 30-10 and whatever. So you hit him with a Ron. You say Ron, and then you get all of the points from that player, which means when you're scoring, you announce the value of your hand. When you win with Ron, you announce a single value. So if your hand's worth 1,000 points, you say Ron 1,000, and then they give you 1,000 points. Great. The other way is tsumo. If you draw your own tile after getting to 10 pi, you tsumo, show your hands, and then that says Ron. That should say sumo. Sorry. Say 2 values instead of 1 because all the other players pay you, and so the non-dealer pays a low value and the dealer pays a high value. So if you're 2,000 point hand, you'd say tsumo 500 1,000, and so then the non-dealers pay you 500 points and the dealer pays you 1,000. I know we said we'd ignore dealer, but essentially dealer, when you dealer tsumo, everyone pays the high value. So instead of 500 1,000, the dealer, you dealer tsumo, it becomes 1,000 all, and then everyone pays 1,000. So that's essentially how you would break up between winning with Ron and winning with sumo. So you need to basically learn the Ron values, which is the entire total value of the hand essentially, and then you need to learn the 2 values for tsumo, that how they break up, because they don't 100% break up very easily, because 2,000 points, you want 500, which is a quarter, and 1,000, which is a half, but 1,000 points, it becomes 250 and 500, and we don't have a 50-point stick in Riichi Mahjong, so we kind of have to round it up a little bit. But so you do need to learn a little where those differences are, but that's not that big of a deal, I think, because it's really only 100, 200 points difference. So first, let's start with our hands above Mangan. These are the easiest ones to do, because all it is how many han do you have, and then the numbers, they go up very easily. They go up like 1.5 times every time. So you start at 4 han. Essentially every 4 han hand, for now, just think about the basic rule of thumb. 4 han is a Mangan, 5 han is Mangan, 6, 7 Haneman, 8 to 10 is Baiman, 11 to 12 is Sanbaiman, and then our counted or Kazue Yakuman would be 13 or above for 4 player. As as we see in the stat that sometimes counted Yakuman is not used. A lot of tournaments might not have counted Yakuman, in which case 13 plus is still just Sanbaimon. And then your special Yakuman hands like 9 gates, 13 orphans, all of those kind of things, Suanko. That is just Yakuman, but you can have multiple. So say you have all honors and it's 4 concealed triplets, then you multiply the Yakuman value by the number of Yakuman. So if you have 2 Yakuman, then it's 32 times 2, which would be 64,000 or 16,000, 32,000. That doesn't happen very often, but you know, maybe in some case you might say, oh, I need 64,000 points to pass somebody. So that's where my double Yakuman needs to come from. Essentially, these are the first values we need to learn. It's basically 8,000, 12,000, 16,000. It goes up by 1.5 times each time. So that's our hands above Mangan. Everyone fine with that? If you remember, as a reminder, if you have questions, just put them in the chat. If not, then we will go forward with our hands below Mangan. So these are not all of the scoring, but essentially most hands, as we can just think about it for now, hands below Mangan have open Ron, a closed Ron value, and then a tsumo value. So essentially, you have 1, 2, 3 Han, and then 4 Han is Mangan, as I said. Technically, there's the rule, you know, if you've ever played Mahjong Soul or Tenho or something and you see like a 7,700 point, that's basically 4 Han, but low Fu, so it doesn't round up, but easiest to remember, especially a lot of tournaments do round it up Mangan. Shibukawa was like, not rounding up 4 Han 30 is stupid. It's also, yeah, it's just harder to remember. So essentially just remember 4 Han is a Mangan for now. And basically the reason why this open and closed Ron is different is because Riichi wants to benefit, like give you bonuses for keeping your hand closed. So if you have closed hands, they get a bonus over the open hand because it's harder to win without taking other people's tiles. But the difference is the Ron bonus is less than the tsumo bonus because when you have a Ron tile, you get your last tile from another player, so it's not as good. The reason why tsumo doesn't have its own separate thing is because the sumo bonus is just 1 Han. So if it's a closed sumo, you just... Oh shoot, sorry. If you close sumo, you just go down 1 Han value, 1 row. And so you only need to remember 1 sumo row. It's just 3, 5, 500, 1,000, or 1.5, and then 1, 2. But for Ron, because it's not a full Han bonus, you get like a bit of an increase. So you do need to have open Han, 1,000, 2,000, 39. 39 is kind of silly, but it doesn't go up to 4,000 directly. If you tsumo, as you can see, 1,000, 2,000 is 4,000, but 39 is not directly 4,000. So that's not the greatest. Unfortunately, the one problem that I have with this is a lot of the mnemonics that like ways to remember these point values are from Japanese and they're not really great to translate to English. So like 39 is sankyu, which sounds like thank you. That's sankyu, but sankyu doesn't really make sense to an English speaker who doesn't know what sang or kyu means necessarily. So if you guys have better mnemonics for this, let me know and I can share them. But essentially, your closed hands are pretty much whenever you Riichi, your Riichi Ron is going to be a bit higher than if you just do like an open all simples. So that's something you just remember. Oh, this is open or this is closed. So closed Ron is 1,300. So Riichi Nomi is 1,300. It's not 1,000. It's 1,300. Riichi Dora 1, 26. Riichi Tanyao Dora 1, 52. Riichi Dora 2, 52. And then 4 Han is Mangan. And then Riichi Tsumo and then open hand Tsumos are the same. It's just the Riichi Tsumo gets 1 more Han because it's a closed hand. So that's pretty much it. And so basically, we've already have enough information we can go for some basic flowchart of how you'd go through scoring some hands. So basically, the first thing we want to do is check the Han, because easily if you have 4 Han, so it's Mangan or above. We know that already. We can just go straight to that. It doesn't matter if it's open or closed. Mangan plus, simple. If it's 3 or less, Then we look at whether it's a ron or a tsumo. If it's tsumo, we know already, just one tsumo value. If it's ron, then we have to check, is it open or closed ron? And then we use the open ron values or the closed ron values. So essentially it. And a little bit of a bonus here, we have the Honba and the Riichi sticks, which do also change some of the points a little bit. They're easy to use, they're just hard to remember that they're there. Remember, like, a lot of times I say the value, I'm like, oh wait, there's 2 Honba. But essentially, Honba, or a continuance indicator, it adds 300 points to the total score per Honba that there is, and you add 1 Honba for every time the dealer wins, or if there's a draw, like exhaustive draw, abortive draw, although most tournaments don't have abortive draw. And then the Honba reset, they go back to 0 only if the non-dealer wins. Because like if it's a draw, dealer not in Tenpai, then there's a new dealer, but the Honba values are the same. They go up. So like you have two Honba, it goes up to 3, even though the dealer changes. Essentially, you just add 300 per Honba for the Ron. So if you're 1,000 points and you have 1 Honba, then it's 1,000 is 1,300. So you say the original value, and then you say the value added with the Honba added. So that way people know the original value, that's how much Han and whatever how much Han and whether your hand's open or closed or whatever, how much food has or whatever. It's just, that's how much value this hand is worth. And then with the Honba, we get 300 more. And then if it's sumo, you add 100 per Honba. So you'd say 300, 500 is 400, 600, or 300, 500 is 500, 700 if there's 2 Honba. And then the Riichi sticks are just, when someone Riichis, you put 1,000 points in, and then if someone is the draw and someone Riichi'd, and then those sticks carry over and the next person wins, gets the Riichi sticks. And then so you get more points than how many points you say, but you don't include the Riichi sticks in your points calculation for when you say out loud. So like if you're 1,000 point hand and there's 2 Riichi sticks that you won, you just say 1,000. You don't need to say 3,000, just 1,000. All right, so here's a bit of practice. Here's some practice hands. If you guys want to try these yourself, see how we can already try and score some of these hands, which are relatively common actually. Or at least I tried to make things that you'd actually see. We already know enough to try and score some of these. So essentially, just go down these, write your scores down somewhere. If you want to, you can type them in the chat as well. And then after a few minutes, I will go and show the answers, see if you got them right. For the bottom 3, they're all Riichi, so count that as a Han. And then for the third one, add 1 Honba to the score. And then if you need to, I will also go back to these values real quick if you guys need to write them down. Because I know I can't, I don't expect you guys to remember all of these numbers immediately. So I'll show these for a bit. And then here are the ones above Mangan as well. And then, all right, so let me go back to the practice. So let me say be like a minute timer. About that. How about that? Also, let me know if you guys think I'm going too fast or too slow. Here's a minute timer. Also, I will be sharing these slides some point, and I'll also try. I don't have a YouTube account right now, but I'm planning to upload make one and then upload the VOD to YouTube so people have access to it. Minasan ganbatte kudasai. We got about 25 seconds. Three, two, one. Cha-ching. Okay. So, here we go to the scores. First 2K. Yep. First is 2000. On 2 Han, it's Tanyao, Dora 1, and it's Open Ron. Now the second one is going to be 1000, 2000, or 4000. Remember to write down when you're tsumoing, write down or say the values as 1000, 2000 instead of 4000, because then otherwise people don't know. So this is Riichi, Tsumo, Ipeiko, or pure double sequence with the 4, 5, 6. And that is just Tsumo values. So the third one is Haneman. You add 1 Honba, that'd be 12,000 is 12,300. We got 6 Han, that's Riichi, Tsumo, and 4 Dora. And then we don't care about whether it's open or closed, it's also a Tsumo. Oh, I didn't. Yeah, Tsumo. So this would technically, if it's Ron, it's 12,000. Tsumo would be 3,000, 6,000. And 3,100, 6,100. And then the last one would be 5,200. This is the important case because this is a closed hand. It's a Riichi, and it's Sanshoku Dojun or mixed triple sequence. So that's 3 Han. Closed hand is 5,200. Yeah, 13. So yeah, if I think you missed the Sanshoku Dojun here. If there was no Sanshoku, yeah, yep. If there was no Sanshoku, it would be 1,300 because it would just be Riichi. That'd be correct. All right. So now let's look at Pinfu. Hold on, my music stopped. It's annoying. This happens sometimes. Let me redo that. There you go. Okay. So good job. Nice job, SSG 3410. You did a good job. Those were all pretty much correct. Also, what's up, Sugar Storms? Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Hopefully this is helpful for you. Alright, so now we just did the basics of just open, close, Ron, Tsumo. We already know those values. Now we're going to start adding some things back. So here's Pinfu. Pinfu is very common. It's a closed hand, only Yaku, but it is also super common / really easy because it is all sequences. Sequences are easy to get. You're at a 2-sided weight, so it's easy to win on. And so basically it gets penalized compared to other Yakus. So basically, the Tsumo for Pinfu, because the fact that the Tsumo is 1 Han, it gets penalized, so you still get closed Han is a Yaku, so closed Tsumo is still 1 Han. But if you have Pinfu, the penalty makes the Tsumo values less points. So if you look at the Pinfu Tsumo, there's no 1 Han Pinfu Tsumo because you can't get that. If you have Pinfu and you Tsumo, it's 2 Han. But the Pinfu Tsumo 2 Han is 400, 700 instead of the 500, 1,000 that we had before. So it's only 1,500 points instead of 2,000. So it's pretty significant. It kind of like shifts it back, or maybe you could say this is like halfway in between. So again, the 700, 1,300 is 2,600 for 3 Han. And then the biggest one here is that Pinfu Tsumo 4 Han is not a Mangan. This is why I removed it for a bit, because Pinfu is one of the exceptions. This is one of the 2 exceptions outside of the Kiriage rounded up rule. One of the 2 exceptions to the 4 Han Mangan rule. Pinfu Tsumo is not a Mangan. The good thing about Pinfu Ran is that the closed Ran bonus just goes away, and then Pinfu Ran is the same as open Ran. So we already know those values. And so basically, if you Riichi, it's the closed Ran values, but if you Riichi with Pinfu, then it's just the open Ran values. So you don't need to learn anything new for that. It's all the same thing. You just have to remember that. The Pinfu is open. That's it. Any questions? All right. Okay. Cool. Now we're going on to our second special case, the 7 pairs, or Chi Toitsu. Some people hate this, some people love it. It's Chida Kosho, he loves it. I like 7 pairs, because we say it's a shortcut to Haneman. You Riichi Tsumo 7 pairs, Dora 2 is Haneman already. You hate it, yeah. Edria hates Chitoi. Chitoi, like, it always just happens to you. You don't really want to have it. It's always just like another thing, like, oh wait, this is also 7 pairs Ishan 10. But essentially, it has its own scoring too, because it's Carlos with the old every cheat toy is a toy you aren't brave enough to go for. Or I like to say every cheat toy is actually a Suanko chance, because I've actually had that multiple times. Have cheat toy get, you tsumo the tsumo like 2 closed hands, and now you're Suanko Ishanten with two of your pairs become triplets, and all of a sudden it's, yeah, cheat toy values is good. There isn't too much you can remember. They are just their own special case. There's only 3 numbers you got to remember, and the good thing is they do kind of, there's no weird like 39 stupid junk. It's all 1600, easily breaks into sumo, 400, 800, or 32. Technically it's 7 pairs sumo, you can't, it's 3 han, so there isn't 400, 800, but you do need that for later, because these numbers do get repeated somewhere else. But essentially I just go 16, 32, and then 64, nice and double. Except that 4 han 7 pairs is also not Mangan. So that is something to remember when you Riichi, Sumo, Chitoi. It's 4 han, but it's not Mangan. It's 1k6, 3k2, 1632, or 64. Or Riichi, or Chitoi Dora. If you Damaten that, you don't Riichi, then it's 6400. It's not Mangan. So, as part of the reason why some people do Riichi, that's Chitoi Dora. Is to guarantee Mangan. That's pretty much it. You gotta remember just those. And now we're gonna look at the dealer, which is basically we now have to do it all again. But as I said before, dealer tsumo is just the high value for regular tsumo, non-dealer tsumo, and so you don't really need to learn anything new. Yeah, 4 han Mangan starts from 40 fu. That is the Kiriage rounded up, not rounded up thing, which is why there's the star over here. Shoot, there, with the open run is, because we haven't really looked at fu. We're gonna look at that in just a second, but not just yet. But essentially if you have Kiriage rounded up, then it becomes 4 han 30 fu, or regular open hand is Mangan. And so essentially, right now we have the dealer version of the Mangan plus numbers, which again multiply pretty easily. So instead of 8,000, it's 12, and then you go up 18, 24, 36 instead of 12, 16, 24. But again, the sumo is easy because we already know it's 2,000, 4,000. It's just 4,000. You just take the higher value and say all. So 4,000 all, 6,000 all, 8,000 all. Fortunately, dealer below Mangan is kind of some weird stuff. So we just need to learn the Ron values because we already know the sumo again. So these are the Ron values for Pinfu, closed Ron. So, and the 7 pairs. So essentially, for here, we have closed Ron is 2,000. Pinfu open Ron, so like your you pawn Chun as dealer, and then you Ron, that's 1,500. Riichi Nomi as dealer, that's 2,000. And the annoying thing is the open / Pinfu Ron values are kind of silly. They don't go 3,000, 6,000. They go 2,900, 5,800. So that is just kind of a weird quirk you kind of have to know. And then it can go up to Mangan, but if it's not rounded, then the open Ron, Pinfu Ron is 11,600. Or 3,900 all for the sumo. And then closed Ron actually looks a little bit like the open Ron values for non-dealer, but like shifted up one. So you see how like 2 han open Ron is 2,000, for 1 han closed Ron dealer is 2,000, and then the 39 thing again. So those are like numbers again, we see that is just repeated, and then the 7,700. But the difference is that 7,700, because dealer Mangan is 12,000, that 7,700 doesn't round up, it's always 7 to 7. So that's a common thing, like Riichi Tanya Dora 1 as the dealer is 7,700, which is pretty significant. So that's why you kind of want to be careful when you're pushing dealer Riichi, because even if it's 3 Han, it's like the same value as a Mangan for non-dealer. So that's pretty much the most of the things added back. Not Fu yet. And so we have a little bit more things to think about. So we gotta alter the flow chart a little bit. Essentially, you always start with your counting the Han, because again, if it's 5 Han, that's easy. We know that's Mangan plus. If it's 4, now we have to worry about those edge cases with the Pinfu and the 7 pairs, because those aren't necessarily. And so you check if it's open or closed. If it's open, we already know Pinfu and 7 pairs are closed only, so we can go to our open Ron value or our tsumo value. If it's closed, we got to check for whether there's a Pinfu or a 7 pairs hand. If it's Pinfu, we can go for our Pinfu values. If it's Pinfu Ron, then you can do the same as open Ron. If it's Pinfu Tsumo, we got to do the Sumo. And then if it's 7 pairs, we got to just go with the 7 pairs numbers. And if it's closed but none of those, then we can go back to our closed Ron / Tsumo values. That's pretty much it. So now we've got a few more practice hands. We've got, for these, I'd like if you can give both the dealer and the non-dealer value. So we have these 3 here, and then they're all Riichi, all 3 of them. Let me know if you need to see the scores again. I can show them for a little bit. This is the dealer below Mangan. For all the Ron values, as a reminder, Tsumo is just high value for dealer. Dealer above Mangan. 7 pairs values. And Pinfu. Okay. Alright. So go here. Do our 1 minute timer. And then let me go grab. I need some water because my mouth's getting a little dry. All right. Hopefully you guys are doing good. Also, I will, once we get to the end, I have a link for a practice website that you can go to practice scoring more hands. That's it. Because it's basically, this method is essentially you want to learn how to get to the scores quickly, but then you also need to practice remembering which scores go for which things, and then, you know, how to actually see them in a game or with a real hand. So that's 3, 2, and 1. So you do need to do some practice for it. A good way to practice, I think, is a little bit more fun, is just while you're playing online, Mahjong Soul or something, you can, when a hand is done, you see it, you see a winning hand, something, or you win, you want to try and calculate the score before the game tells you what it is. Like, try to beat the computer. Another strategy is when you're Riichi, once you're done Riichi, you start thinking about how much the score is worth, because you can't change your hand anymore, so it gives you some time to think about what your hand could be worth, because sometimes Ura changes it, and you have multiple potential winning scores. Oh yeah, that was 2 home, but I forgot to put that up. So if you didn't add it, it's fine. I'll just cover that. Essentially, first one, we've got Reach, Tanyao, Pinfu, Tsumo. That's 4 Han, but it's a Pinfu, so remember, that is not a Mangan. That's 1,000, 1K3, 2K6, or 2,600 all for the dealer. Right? Okay, so next hand we have a 7 pairs, a Ron. So this is a Riichi, 7 pairs. Riichi Chi-Toy, that's 3 Han, plus 1 red 5, that's 4. But there's no Dora or Ura, and it's not Tsumo, so there's Ron, which again, 4 Han, 7 pairs is not Mangan. 6,400. I didn't put the 2 Humba there, so is 7,000 or 9,600 for dealer is 10,200. 4 Han, 7 pairs Ron. Reach, 7 pairs red 5. Now the last one, we have a pretty big hand. Got Riichi, Pinfu, Tanyao, Ipeiko, Dora 2, which I believe is a Hanuman. Yes, again, another Hanuman. Was Ron 1,200, or for the dealer, it's 1,800. We could say in Japanese that's Impachi, or Ich and Hachi, Impachi. It's a dealer Hanuman. That's a big sad if you see someone, if you Riichi and then the dealer Riichis and you deal into that, and you're like, oh no, 1,800. That's half my points gone, or more than half if you're playing with 2,500 start. But yep, Riichi, Tsumo, Tanyao, Pinfu, Dora 2, Ipeiko. So even though it is Pinfu, you don't even need to worry about it because we're at 6 Han. We can already go for Hanuman. All right, so what we've all been waiting for, the Fu. The Fu. All right, so now we look at this Fu table, the scoring values with different Fu values, and you realize, you see something, hey, wait a minute, these values look kind of familiar. And the answer is because they are. Essentially, a lot of these are the same and or just repeated from something we've already learned. So we have the non-dealer on the left, right is the dealer on the slashes, and then the tsumo value is in the parentheses. And so we have 20 Fu, is Pinfu Tsumo. So 20 Fu is Pinfu Tsumo. We already know that's 4, 7, 7, 13, 13, 26. That's not new. It's just this 20 Fu thing. What is that? 25 Fu that's our special 7 pairs. We know those, the 7 pairs has their own thing, so that's their own value. That makes sense. 16, 32, 64. Our 30 Fu, that's our bases. That's our open Ron, or the Pinfu Ron. It's 1,000, 2,000, 39. And then a 40 Fu, that's our close Ron. So that's basically the Ron close Ron bonus is just 10 Fu, and it moves up 1 column, and now you have our 13, 26, 52, or that 2, 3, 9, 77. And that's also, you can see the Pinfu for 40, the tsumo for 40 Fu is the same as Pinfu Tsumo for 20 Fu, but minus 1 Han. Right? So 1 Han 40 is the same as 2 Han 20 Tsumo. Pretty good. And then 50 Fu is, again, 7 pairs number again. Wow, that's weird. Basically, what you can do is take the Fu value, divide it by 2, and then add 1 Han, and then you've pretty much have the same number, as long as that's also defined. Like if you have 30 Fu and divided by 2, and there's no 15 Fu, but you have 50 Fu divided by 2 is 25, and add 1 Han, and now you have 7 pairs, so it's the same thing. You actually don't need to learn any new values for that. We just need to learn when to use each column. So basically, how Fu gets calculated. So basically, hands start at 20 Fu, and then they get Fu for your groups, so like your triplets and stuff, what your weight is, and then for winning, you get Fu as well, and then you round up to the nearest 10. So if you have 32 Fu at the end of all the calculation, it becomes 40. So that's why you see 20, 30, 40. The only difference is Chi Toitsu is always 25, but everything else is divisible by 10. So 20, 30, 40 starts at 20. So closed Ron bonus is plus 10. So basically you start at 20, you have some Fu, you're at 30, but then because it's closed Ron, you add 10, so it becomes 40 usually. But Pinfu actually means 0 Fu, which is why it's worth less, because Pin means 0 and Fu's Fu. So it starts at 20 and then it doesn't go anywhere, and then the plus 10 Fu from the closed Ron makes it the same as the open Ron. And then essentially what I said before, if you're not sure about 40 plus, you can divide 2 by Fu, divide 2 by Fu, divide Fu by 2, and then add 1 Han. So 2 Han 50 Fu is 3 Han 25, which is our 7 pairs number. So we already know that. Yeah. little slip up there. All right. So how do we actually calculate this? Basically, you do 20 Fu plus your group Fu plus the weight Fu plus the winning Fu. So unless it's 7 pairs, then it's 25, and then you round up to the nearest 10. So essentially, You have 20 fu. If you have 8 group fu, you add 8, then you add 2 for your weight fu, and plus 2 winning. You end up with 32, you round to 40. Essentially, what we're looking for is the magic number of 12. So if you start at 20, and then the added fu adds up to 12 or more, we already know once it hits 12, it'll be 32, and so it's already up to 40. And so that's basically, if it's less than 12, then we don't need to add anything up. But if you basically see, oh, there's 12 fu, I add up, I go up 1 column, now it's the closed run, or now it's the 7 pairs one. And that's basically those 3 jumping up again. So first, let's look at the group fu. Group fu is basically just your triplets. If you have a run or a sequence, no fu, that's why pin fu is 0, because it's always a run. And then you have 1 triplet, it gives you 2 fu. If it's concealed, you double it. If it's a terminal or an honor, so 1, 9, or any of the dragons or winds, you double it. And then if it's a con, you multiply it by 4. And so basically, I like to think about it as 2 different sections. So if it's a non-terminal honor or a terminal honor. So if it's non-terminal honor, you just see an open pawn, it's just 2. If it's in your hand closed, it's 4. If you have an open con, it's 8. And then if you close con it, it's 16. And then the scary thing is when you get your closed Sha con, because that's 32 fu, but essentially your terminal honor triplet, sorry, that should be fixed. I need to clean these up a little bit. But the terminal honor triplet fu, if you have your Hatsupon, your triplet of your dragon or your wind, that's going to be 4. If it's closed in your hand of like a 1-9 or a dragon or something, that's 8. Then you open con 16, and then close con is 32. There's also points for Yakuhai pair. So that's also why Pinfu, you can't have one, because if you have a pair of a dragon or your seat or round wind, it's also 2 fu. Sometimes if you have a pair of your double wind, so like if you're east dealer and it's east round and you have a east pair, it's worth 4 fu, but usually that's not the case. So that's pretty much the group fu. And now you have your weight fu. Weight fu is basically just if you have a bad weight, you get fu for it, because it's harder to win with the bad weight. So if it's a Rammen, like 2-sided plus, so like you have your 3-4, becomes 4-5. 3-4, you're waiting on the 5 or the 2, or like a 3-sided weight or anything like that, then it becomes 0 fu. But if you have these, the kanchan, the penchan, and the pair, those are all 2 fu, whether it's ran or tsumo. And then the shampon or the shabo, that's kind of cringe, because it doesn't give you any fu directly, but that triplet that you make out of the ran or tsumo tile gives you fu for the group that you have, because it's a triplet now. So that creates the couple of multiple cases where you can have different types of fu. So you see, like if you have a non-terminal and a terminal pair, if you ran the non-terminal, it's 2 fu. If you tsumo it, it's 4, because if you tsumo, it's a closed triplet, but if you ran, it's not a closed triplet. So if you ran the 9-pin, then it's 4 fu, because it's a terminal open pawn. If you tsumo the 9-pin, it's 8 fu, because it's closed terminal triplet. That's the weights, and then you just have winning fu. Essentially, if you tsumo, that's +2. And then what I said before, if it's a closed ran, it's +10. A lot of times you can think about, if it's a closed ran, it starts at 30 fu because you're adding 10. But you can also just think about it separately and add 10 as a winning fu like this. So if you tsumo, it's 2 fu, unless you have pinfu, because then you have your pinfu tsumo and it stays at 20. But again, pinfu, we already know the pinfu values are just open ran and then tsumo. So if you have pinfu, you don't need to think about fu at all. Don't think about like, oh, it's 20 and 30. Just, oh, pinfu tsumo, I know that. Or pinfu ran, that's open ran, I know that. That's part of why I set that up earlier, so you don't have to think about this weird thing. Or how closed ran is 40 but 30 when it's pinfu, because you can just say pinfu is open ran, because we know that already. And then open ran is nothing. So you get 0 fu for open ran. Right, so essentially, now I'm going to tell you when you need to use this and when you don't need to use this. Because essentially, most hands, you don't really end up having 12 or more fu, which is why I taught you the other ways earlier without the fu, and that ends up working kind of a lot of the times. So essentially, there are a few cases where you do need to count the fu, and it's when you have a lot of these things that add fu. So 3 big ones are like closed terminal honor triplet. That's like already 8 fu. It's a big one. So if you have like your hand and you have 3 1 pins, that's 8 fu. So that should be a big signal like, oh, there's a lot of fu in this hand potentially. Special fu about fu-less open hand. Oh yeah. Again, that's another special case, which is why we taught it the other way before. So technically, like, if you have a Tanyao that looks like a Pinfu, essentially if you have an open Pinfu hand, that would also be like 0 fu if you run it. So you'd be at 20 because the 20 fu starts at 20. Your base fu starts at 20, and then you have open all sequences, no weight fu, you don't tsumo, you don't get any fu. That would be 20, but if it's open, you can't be Pinfu, and 20 is only for tsumo, and so it becomes 30. But essentially, you don't really need to think about that, because if you have an open hand and you see, oh, there isn't any things that's adding a bunch of fu, you can just say, okay, that's open ron or tsumo. So essentially, that's like kind of the logic of this method is, yes, that's weird. Okay, like just, we can try to kind of ignore that, just not even, because that way, if you have an open Tanyao that's a bunch of stuff that you don't see any of these signals, you don't need to be like, oh, how much fu is this? Or I need to remember, oh, it's just open ron, or oh, it's just open sumo, or oh, it's just open ron, because at sumo it'd be 2 fu, but basically it's like, oh, it's open ron. We just have our value we know already. But if you have an open hand or a closed hand and you see closed, like your Chun, your red dragon is completely closed, that's 8 fu. So now we think about, okay, is there anything else adding fu? Because if you get 4 more, boom, now you have 12, and that's when you jump up to closed rod, or jump up to the next thing. The other one is triplet heavy hands. So a lot of times if you are going for a toi or a san anko, you pawn, now you have like all triplets, and you also have a shampon weight. That's when you start thinking about fu, because a lot of toys end up with 40 fu. And so they end up with like the closed ron values instead of the open ron values. Or the Pinfu Tsumo +1 han. The third one is a kan, because remember, like, kan is at least 8, so it's the same as the closed terminal honor triplet. So if you see a kan, that's when, okay, if you do a closed kan especially, that's a super big one, but that's kind of unlikely that you end up with a super big closed kan. There's a lot of times you end up in the Mahjong territory. But if you have a kan, an open kan, you add a kan, or a closed kan, then that's when you say, okay, I have a lot of fu, I gotta start counting this. But if you have a regular looking hand that you don't see any of these things with, you don't have a lot of triplets, or you don't have a kan, it's just like run, kanchan weight or something. Or you have Pinfu 7 pairs, we already know those special case, we already know those values, those are always the same fu. Or +5 han, you don't need to count fu because the score is the same. So, also thanks for the follow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Tangy. That's Carlos, I think. But yeah, that's basically, you don't need to count fu. So you only need to count fu if you see these. So that's why Riichi Pinfu, don't even think about fu. You have a regular Tanyao hand, don't even think about fu. You start pawning a bunch of stuff, or you have a bunch of closed triplets, you're like, okay, now I need to think about fu. So that way you can just get to that score value we know already without thinking about how much fu this hand is worth. So that way you can avoid that confusion, right? Okay, so here's some complex shapes. So here's some complex shapes. Essentially, sometimes you can have a hand that's seen multiple ways. that can potentially, you might be missing some foo, right? So, for example, this top right situation, you see signal, okay, we have two triplets. That's a bit of a triplet heavy hand, and they're both terminals, so it's worth 4. We're at 8. Then if you tsumo the 5-mon, usually you look at this and you say, oh, it's a 2-5 weight, that's a jammen, there's no foo here. But you can also see it as 4-6, and it's just a kanshan shape, which does give you 2 foo. And then if you tsumo, you get 2 more foo, and you end up with plus 12, and so you do end up jumping up to 40. And so that is one of the complex shapes, gotta pay attention to that. But again, only if there is a signal about, oh, I have 2+ triplets and they're both honors. Now I need to think about, okay, maybe is there a kanchan here? Just pay attention to that. The other thing is 2-sided or 2 or 3-sided shapes that are like complex multi-sided weights. So you see this like 799. It's a 7. You can win on the 7 with a pair. You can also win on the 8 with a kanchan. So it's a 2-sided weight shape, but each individual shape, it's 2 separate shapes. It's like 7-9 kanchan and then 7 pair. Those are both one tile weight shapes, and so they both give you foo. So this would give you foo, and means this also isn't a pin foo shape, in case you end up with a hand like that. And so now that's pretty much everything, or mostly everything. We do need to look at like really big foo if you end up, but that's less likely to happen. And you do have that like whatever foo divided by 2 and add 1 han. And so basically we just add this appendix of, oh, do we need to think about foo at the end of our flowchart, where check open closed, you count han, 5 han, done. Mahjong plus, easy. 4, check our open closed, okay, pin foo 7 pairs. Don't need to think about our foo. We already know pin foo 7 pairs, just score it that way. If not, if it's open or it's closed and not pin foo 7 pairs, then we come in and we think about, we look at those signals. Do we see a lot of triplets? Do we see triplets that are terminals? Do we see a kan? Do we need to count the foo? If yes, then we count the foo and see if it's plus 12. Then we end up with then we jump up to the next value, to the next column. And then if it's not 12 foo, then we keep our regular open close ron or regular tsumo that we knew before. And so there's a different foo adding situations. So if there's not 12 foo, we're just at 30. If you're at close ron and it's not pin foo, then it's 40 foo. And then if you have a regular hand plus 12 foo, then it becomes your 40, which is your close ron / pin foo tsumo minus 1 han. And then, but there's a chance where close ron and 12 plus happen at the same time. So like if you Riichi and you have 1-1-1 pin and another triplet, then that's 2 close and now you have 12. So now you have 40 plus 12, it's 50, and that's the 7 pairs one. The same thing can also happen like if you have a close con plus 16 foo, then you add like 8 more. Now we have plus 22. That goes up to 50 because, you know, 20 plus 22 is 42, so that rounds up to 50. And then there's that's pin foo. That's the 7 pairs minus 1 han again. There's again, we can go higher than that. That does sometimes happen, and I will cover that in just a bit. But that's pretty uncommon. That's very uncommon, I'd say. I've only seen it a few times, but you do kind of eventually need to know that. But again, it's also a bunch of repeated stuff for the most part. So for now, let's just go and do some more practice. I have 2 different practice things here. No. So there's this 4, and then I have another set of 4 after this. So here's our top one's Riichi, the other ones aren't. And then the second one, you add 3 honba. And then again, give the dealer and the non-dealer points for these, if you would. And then real quick, let's go back again to this one. We just have this whole thing. If you want to take like a picture of that or something, or if you This is basically the regular old scoring table that you may have seen already or have like a printout. So you could just use this and then just try and get there as quick as you can. All right, so I'm gonna do the 1 minute. Actually, there's a... I'm gonna try to get to the other points too, because I do have a bit, so I'm gonna do 45 seconds. Alright, it's been about an hour. I do have a bit of... Twitch is yelling at me now because it wants to run an ad, so I've been trying to snooze it, but I may try to do that. It's got like 10 minutes left, so I'm gonna try and snooze it one more time. Give me like 5 more minutes, and then I think we should be good. Add it up. Yeah, I can. Well, the problem is like it's harder for people to see the stream or whatever I'm showing on up here when there's like a big ad. So. Oh yeah. Also, remember, Dora tile. Whatever I say as Dora here is that is the Dora. So I can see that 8-pin. The 8-pin is the Dora. Not the 9-pin. It's not the indicator. It's kind of confusing sometimes. There are different scoring things that show it differently, but that's why I tried to write that on the top. The 8-pin is Yep. I think It's all right. So I give you a little bit more to think about there, but so the first, I've split this up a little bit. Oh, did I not write the first score? Shoot. That's fine. That's just Riichi Tsumo. That's 1K, 2K, or 2K all. So this first hand is 1K, 2K, or not 1K, 2K. It's 500 1K because it's Riichi Tsumo. That's it. 500 1K or 1,000 all. Yeah, 2,000 points total. Because you Riichi Tsumo, it's 2 han. You have the 9-pin. That makes you think about, okay, that's the closed terminal. So I need to think about Fu. So that's plus 8 Fu for 9-pin. And then you only get 2 Fu for the Tsumo, so that's 10. 12 is not enough. So that's it. And the second one is it's a Damaten, because it's not, I said it's not Riichi back here. So it's not Riichi. We add 3 Honba. And so it's 2,600 all. Tsumo for dealer is 2,900 all, or 1,300. 2,600 is 1,600, 2,900. Because it's Reach, Tsumo, pure double sequence, and it's a Pinfu. So it's 4 han. We know Pinfu Tsumo is not a Mangan. It's 1,326. And then we add 300 points to each value because there's 3 Honba, 100 times 3. This one's a bit confusing because this is actually a hand. This is I've chumboed one time in my life, and it was this kind of shape because it looks kind of like you just have a 4-man Kanchan 3-5 for the Ipeiko, but it's 2 3 4 5 5 and then 2 3. It's a round men 2-sided 1-4 weight, which makes it Pinfu. So if you use the Kanchan shape for the Tsumo, it would be 3 han regular Tsumo 1,200, but 2,003. You see 2-3 shape gives you our Pinfu shape. That becomes 4 han Pinfu Tsumo, which is worth more than our 3 han regular Tsumo, and so you take that value because you always take the higher interpretation value. So you're 1326. So yeah, that's when I chumboed is I didn't see the Ryumen side. I drew basically the 1-man, dropped it, and then someone dropped the Suji. I basically made a Suji trap by not sumoing the 1-man and then ran someone immediately after, and they were like, wait a second, that's wrong. So yeah, don't do that. Basically. Yeah. Oh, it was there. I forgot. Some of these have like like transition. It's the free 10 trap, yeah. I trap myself. But yeah, there's the points. That's what I said. 1,000 all, 500, 1,000. You see how like I was able to do it even without knowing the numbers there, because it's just think it through the same way. So here's the second score, or the third one. This one is 1,600 all, or 800 1K6, because this one also is, it actually confused me when I was writing it, because the new Dora, the Con Dora, is 4, so yeah. I think Hal told me about when you said Furryton, fuck you. But yeah, the 4, so the new Dora is 4, so there is 4 soul. So you have your Tanyao, Tsumo, and 1 Dora, so it's 2 Han. And then we have the old plus 22 Fu here, because the 8 pin gives you 16, your 8 soul pawn gives you 2, and then this is the same thing I told you before. 5-6, you have your 5-7 Kanchan shape you can actually see, which gives you 2, and the Sumo gives you 2. So you end up with plus 22, plus 20 gives you 42, and rounds to 50. So then that's our 7 pairs, 1,600.1 for 2 Han. Yeah. All right. So the last one we have Tanyao, Dora, Akadora. We have a Khan, and it's 2,600 all, 1,300, 2,600. So you see Khan, you say, okay, that's our Fu signal right there. That's beep, 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 Fu time. So he's 20. Open Khan of a non-terminal is 8. Our Kanchan, you can just, it's regular. I'm not trying to trick you. It's plus 2. And then Sumo's plus 2 again. So it's 32 or 20 plus our magic number of 12. And we get to 32. And so you round to 40. And that becomes our closed Sumo instead of our closed Sumo. Not closed Sumo. It's the Pinfu Sumo minus 1, or 1,300, 2,600 for 3 Han, which is the same value as Pinfu Sumo for 4 Han. All right, so here's 4 more practice problems. Let me make sure. Yeah, okay. Some of these have like a transition, so I'm gonna do 45 more seconds. I mean, just run like a 1-minute ad real quick. That's our 1-minute timer. So that way we'll do it that way. How about that? So that way the Twitch doesn't get mad at me anymore. And after the ad break, we will come back and score these. Woohoo! 15 viewers. What's up, everybody? Hopefully. Also, please give me your honest feedback about this. I might do it again. I do need to clean up the slides a little bit. That's on me. But if it's helpful, let me know. If it's not, also let me know if there's anything that is still giving you trouble. Yep. Okay, you got about 15 seconds left. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. First Mangan. All right. We'll see about that. I'm kidding. All right, ad's done. Why is it asking to run an ad again? Silly. Oh, because it'll run 30 seconds again. Okay, whatever. Silly. Okay. Yep. So first, second, 3,900. Yep. Okay. Yeah. There you go. Okay. I'm not tripping. I did write these. First one again. Yep. SSG said it correctly. Is a Mangan. That's this is a hard Yaku to see. I miss it sometimes too. I think I missed it the first time I wrote the answers, and I had to fix myself. It's San Anko, or 3 concealed triplets, 4 Han. So it's a Choi Toi and San Anko, which is 4 Han total. So we know 4 Han is generally a Mangan. but we can count the food just to make sure, because, you know, sometimes if you're playing Mahjong, maybe it's not a Mangan, maybe it's 77 or 79 instead of 8,000. So we count, but it's also because it's toy, so we know there might be a lot of food here. So your base 20, your tsumo is 2, your 9-mon triplet pawn is 4, your 2-mon and the 6-pin concealed triplets are both 4, and then your tuso, you tsumoed it, so it's also a closed triplet, so that's 4 more, and so you have 38. Your pay, that pay might give you Yakuhai pair fu if you're north seat, but it doesn't matter because 38 and 40 are still 40 fu. So then that is guaranteed Mangan in all rule sets. And the second one is 58 or 39. Because that's 3 han, Tanyao, Sanshoku Dojun. Open Sanshoku is 1 han, and then 1 Dora. And then we see this one, you can just, you don't even really need to look about fu, because you see, oh, there's only 1 pawn and it's 2. Only 1 pawn and it's not a triplet, so not a terminal, so we don't even need to think about that. We just go open Ron 39. Easy. Right. This third one said Baiman. That is not correct, actually. That's I forgot. This one is a Yakuman. That's just Chuden Poto. if it's not, if Churen wasn't a thing, this would be Baiman, but this is a Yakuman. Just had to throw that one in there. Just remember, the Yakuman is also a score that we have to know. It's 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, 9, and then there is 1 extra tile, which is a 7-zo, which makes it a 9 gates or Churen Poto, which is 16,000 all tsumo, or 8,000, 16,000 if you're not the dealer. But again, if this Yakuman wasn't a thing, it would in fact be a Baiman, be 4,000, 8,000 tsumo, or 8,000 all, because it would be tsumo, close full flush, and 3 Dora. Oh. All right. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes those are, this is the danger of the full flush, is there's a lot of stuff going on with the full flush. This is also like a really wide weight too, because it's like the 7,999. It's like the 8-so, but then you also have 147 as well. Yeah, it'd be like 1478. So then the last one, I know, sorry, I apologize, it's a bit of a trick question. I think there's going to be an ad, a 30-second ad, because Twitch is still annoying at me. But the last one is Riichi. It's 9,600 for dealer, or 64, because this is what I was talking about before, the closed Ron plus 12 fu, because you have 2 triplets. You have a Chun triplet, and then a 2-pair triplet. It's annoying, 30 seconds. So I'll just, because again, like when you have Chun, that's 8, 2-pin is 4, so you get 12. 12's pretty quick. Let me make sure. Someone DM me. Okay. It's fine. Essentially, yeah, I got a couple of Discord things and want to make sure people aren't telling me that something's broken. But basically, yeah, you got your tuned 8, the closed 2-pin is 4, so you're 12, and it's closed, so it's plus 10 for the Ron, and so you end up with 42 Han and 50 Fu, which becomes your 7 pairs minus 1. So 4 Han, 7 pairs is 64 or 96, and then your 3 Han, 50 Fu is 64 or 96. So that's pretty much it. This is our continued practice link. Scoring trainer, konbanwa.net. This is a pretty good one. But we do have a bonus round. Woo! This is pretty much, we're basically done, except for the times when someone has like 2 cons, or cons a closed con of a terminal honor, and then you end up with 32 Fu and you're over 50, and it's like, what the hell is going on? So bonus round to cover everything. Huge Fu time. Woo! Basically, that you learn this to flex on everybody, that you know these values instead of having to pull out the the old table. But basically, this is mostly repeated stuff. So this is our 60 through 80 The max foo you can get is 110. It's technically 120, but the more you go up, in order to get 120 foo, you need at least like 3 cons and a bunch of other stuff. So you end up with enough han that you will like go to Mahjong, and then the foo doesn't matter. But basically, it's the same. What I said before, you divide the foo by 2 plus 1 han, and now you end up with a bunch of repeated stuff. So you see 60 foo. That's the same as our open Ron, our open sumo, regular sumo. Divide 60 by 2. You get 30 foo plus 1 han. So 1 han 60 is the same as 2 han 30. So that's the same number. Pretty good. 80 foo is the same. So you divide by 2, now you're at 40. So you're at 1 han 80 is 2 han 40. 3 han and above is Mahjong kind of, yeah. Yeah, no. That's the same thing we had before. That's why I said here with 3 han 60 foo is Kiri Age Mahjong. So that's the same like 77 or 2039 is because of the same reason. When you divide 60 by 2, you're at 4 han 30 is the same as 3 han 60, which is like the 77, 7,700, 7,900, or 11,600, 11,700, or whatever. But when that is Kiriage, so a tournament play, that's rounded up, becomes a Mahjong. So good point on that. It's not always Mahjong. But 70 foo plus is always Mahjong. So once you get up to these big foo values, you only really need to focus on 1 and 2 han. But unfortunately, the problem is 70 foo, this thing doesn't work, because as I said, you need to have a defined foo value for the half. So 70 divided by 2 is 35. We don't have a 35 value, so you just kind of need to remember this one. It's 23, 2,345, or 600, 1,100. I think there's another way to do this where you take the 50 foo value and add it from the next, add the 20, or you add whatever is above it to get to the new one. So like 50 plus 30 is 80 foo, so you take the 50 value and the 30 value. That also gets you to 26. But for 70 foo, we don't have a Ron value for 20 foo, because that's Pinfu Tsumo only. And so when you add things, yeah, 60 plus foo hands are kind of rare, and 80 plus foo hands are very rare, which is why this is like our bonus round, because this doesn't happen that often. Good thing for 70 foo, you do need to memorize if you want to know the 70 foo numbers. But there's only 2. 1 han, 2 han. Essentially, where this shows up is when you do Riichi no Mi. So like, say, let's go back to this top hand up here. You see 999, Riichi no Mi, we only have 1 han. So you draw the 4th 9 pin and you con. Now you have 32 foo, and then you ron the 4th 4 mon. Now you have 1 han, 20 foo plus 10 for close ron, that's 30, plus 32 for the 9 pin con, that gets you 70. So that's like pretty much the only time where I see 70 foo show up is like Riichi no Mi or Riichi 1 Dora, close con 1 pin or something, and then you don't hit an Ura and you end up with 1 han 70 foo. And so that's 23, 45, or 34, 68. You just kind of have to memorize that. But you can be cool when you see that happen and you say, oh, that's 23. And then they're like, people are like, what? How do you know that? And then they pull up the scoring sheet and they're like, oh, you're right. So yeah, if you want to be cool and like flex on everybody about how much you know about scoring, you can remember the 70 foo values. So now we got even bigger foo, and this pretty much like never happens because again, it's 1 to 2 han. So if you end up with like a billion cons and stuff, you could probably hitting a Dora somewhere, and then you end up with more than 2 han. But this does technically happen. And so if you ever want to be a pro or take like the Saikoi-sen pro test, they count, like they ask you all of this stuff. But essentially for this, you basically take the 50 foo value and then you add another foo value to get to the total. So like 90 foo, you add the 50 foo, so the 7 pairs minus 1. and the 40 fu to get to the 90 fu. Your 100, you can do either. You can do 50 fu plus 50 fu. You can just divide it. That one's also divisible because 100 divided by 2 is 50. So now you have your 100 is 250. And then 110 is like 50 plus 60. Or 50 plus 30 plus 100. It's like, what even is that? 1,600. 8 dealer keep. Oh, hey. How? What's up, Hal? They were, Hal ended up in a game, unfortunately, but wanted to be here. So yeah, we're almost at the end now. This is where all your study comes into place. Kyle's studying for this Psychoisen. This is the big fu, huger fu. And so here's a few practice hands on this junk. These, it's like I tried to make these look not necessarily super. Been trying to follow along. Hopefully you have been able to kind of. The difficult part is trying to remember the points. But I made these. The bottom one is actually stuff like you might see. I've seen that a few times. I had that once in a parlor in Japan, and like I was able to say the score, and people were like, "Whoa!" Top one seems kind of maybe like it might happen, I guess. But again, like as soon as you Riichi and like tsumo this stuff, and you have one Dora, and then it's 3. It's Mangan. Like you're you're already there. But again, here are the points. I try to give the dealer and the non-dealer score for this. Yes, you can write your answers. Maybe I'll take a little bit to let people have a bit of a chance before you give the answer because you're probably correct. So let me go back, give you these scores. That's the 90 plus. Try following without the whiskey W. Oh, Edry's drinking. Got the whiskey. Yeah, that might make it a little bit harder, but the plan for this is to try and give you like the thought process, and then that makes it easier for you to remember these scores a lot of the time. And then also I can apply this video. Have I ever been taught the 70 fu? Technically, no. I just remembered it. Maybe there is one. It's like one. Yeah, it's like yeah. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 because those are the numbers that show up, and then they're like in order. So it's 2, 3, 4, 5 is 7, and 4, 5, 6, 8, or 34, 68. Yeah. So 2, 3, 3, 4 is the dealer one. 4, 5 is the non-dealer one. Non-dealer 2 Han, and then 68 is the other one. But yeah. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Should add that to the slides after this. Anyway, we can write your answers now. Let me give you like 30 more seconds, I guess. 30 seconds. Oh, my music is gone again. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, jeez. Oh no. My computer's frozen. Stream going down. Oh, okay, we're back. Jesus. Sorry about that. Screen, my PC froze for a second. I thought I might have dropped stream there, but seems like things are okay. So anyway, here are the scores. Hopefully I got these right. On Afu. Yep. That is correct. Al 77 or 52. 2 Han, 80 Fu, close around 30, or 20 plus the 10. Your Haku close con's 32, terminal's 8, pair weight is 2. So that is 80. Yeah, there haven't been many people typing in the chat, so you can just type it in now. And the second one is our 110 Fu. 32, 64 was 8, 72, 74, and then you've been so wrong. Oh no. Okay, maybe once I like upload the VOD, can go back and review it a bit, and then hopefully can look at them again. But yeah, that's 110. It's 10.6 or 70.100. It's kind of silly. Good to hear this has been helpful. Yeah, I originally made this mostly to help my 2 friends that I'm trying to bring to a tournament in 2 weeks. They probably won't learn everything, but then the last one is 70 Fu. This is like, actually, you show this. This actually shows up. So that's 34 for dealer and 23 for non-dealer. So it's Riichi, close around 32, and then plus value pair and Kanchan, which doesn't really matter that much, but. Oh yeah, Saikoi-sen is basically, Saikoi-sen is a pro Mahjong organization that's, remember, the Shibukawa Nanba, the guy who like thought part of this method. I added to it, but he's part of the Nihon Pro Mahjong Kyokai, which is Saikoi-sen. It's a Japanese Riichi Mahjong pro organization, and then they're certifying American pro players now. So the Saikoi-sen class is to try and pass the pro test to become a licensed pro for that organization. That's what Hal is doing. These were the slides. Yeah, that's yeah, the slides, the test is basically all of this. This is pretty much the test, this type of hands for the most part. Yes, these were the slides I sent you. Not 100%, like I changed it a little bit a few hours ago, but I also still didn't have time to fully clean it, so there are a few things that I didn't are like typos and stuff, but it's fine. But that's basically it. You're done. Woo! Now you know the whole scoring table, basically. You know how to score everything. Or you've learned how to score everything. Obviously, it's fine. Yeah, it's not that big of a deal. I appreciate the attempt anyway. Yeah. And thanks for showing up. Spin, spin, spin. Yay. We now know the whole thing. Obviously, I don't expect you to like be able to perfectly score everything after watching this once, but now you have some of the things, the ideas. I'll subscribe with Prime. Thanks for the sub. Let's go. Appreciate it, dude.
Hellion just subscribed with Prime.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Let's go. All right. I need to, I don't know, maybe come up with something that I can do when people sub. But yeah, hopefully this has helped. I think I have to do other stuff soon. I have to I gotta go eat. I also need to go study my Japanese for my N1. That isn't until December, but I gotta actually focus on it because it's the weekend. I actually have time to do it. But any questions on this? Or anything that you would like to let me know about? Hopefully this helps, get you to learn a bit of the thought process that goes behind how to think about how many, like your score, and allows you to avoid some of the confusion, like some of the traps that make things be like, oh crap, what's going on? Like the weird 0 Han 30 Fu Tanyao to try out the practice link. Yeah, it's a good one. I think that's the, let me go back to it. It's the old Hal is here. It's really well put together. I appreciate it. Yeah, I can also give the slides directly. I can, I will try to download this VOD and like upload it pretty much as soon as I'm done streaming. Try and set up the YouTube and stuff. Here's the practice link. This is the one Hal has on the Yakumen Discord. One of the ones in the resources. This is a good practice. Here, we can actually like open it maybe. Let's do that. And just see what it looks like. Let me go to the other tab here. This is my Tenho thing here, and the music is dead again. Right, so this is like basically what you see. They give you whether it's sumo or Riichi or not. So if we look at this, we say, okay, this is a Tanyao. So this one's different. So this is different from the way I made my practices, where this tile is the indicator tile. It is not the Dora. So the Dora is 2 mon, not 1 mon. So just be careful of that, because sometimes you miss that. With south round, I'm the south seat, but this is just Tanyao. So we know that's just our open Ron, because it's not sumo. So it's open Ron, which is our 30 Fu. It's 30 Fu. Oh, 31. That's weird. 1 Han 30 Fu. And then since we're not dealer, because it says south. Yeah, the only thing, yeah, it's not a great trainer for if you're trying to pass exams, because they just give you no Dora, and a lot of times it's like not Riichi either. But for like the average individual who's trying to figure out how to score just regular hands, I think having Riichi, Dora is good. Turn on Kiriage and ignore Fu. Okay, that's up here. Alright, so Kiriage Mangan mode is there. I actually didn't know this. And then you can ignore Fu, so you don't have to type in Fu when it's unnecessary. I think that's a good thing. Yep. Yeah, if you once you want to try and practice like Saikoi-sen test stuff, or try to practice protests, which I might do maybe eventually. I don't know. That then it's like not as good of a tool, also because I think they a lot of the hands aren't that like complicated either, which is part of why I recommend it for like regular people. Because most of the hands on the tests are like the 60 plus Fu and confusing and weird. But yep, this is just 130, so it's 1000. There you go, we get it right. And then new hand. So, oh, never mind. I say that, and then they give me a 9 mon con immediately. Although at this point, we already know we can. Here's kind of the fucking weird crazy run. But at the same time, if this is Riichi Tsumo Dora 2. So we don't even need to think about Fu. It's Riichi Tsumo Dora, 3 Mons a Dora, an Uro Dora, and then the 7 So is the regular Dora. So it's 4. And then Fu we don't really need to worry about because it's a limit hand. So it's 12,000 and then... Oh, it's Sumo, sorry. Sumo, you write the 2 different values here. Sumo, yeah. It's 2,000, 4,000. Do we need to write Fu here or no? Yeah, you need to, okay, it still says you have to write it. Yeah, so here it does show you how to calculate the Fu. Did I turn it on right or no? I did, okay, yeah. So I turned this on to try and make it so I didn't have to type that, but I guess it did get mad at me. So, oh, apply. That's it. Yeah, okay. I missed that. There you go. Fair enough. Fair enough, thank you. Here is south, south. Tsumo. It's open, so no closed sumo. You got Tudora, not Riichi, sorry, Tanyo, Tudora. Regular, there's nothing here that gives you food, so we just do 30. 31, that's weird. 3. So that's 1,000, 2,000. Woohoo. Ding. And then maybe we can do one more. So we have Riichi, Ron, Reach, Pinfu, Dora. That is 4. No, it's 3. Sorry. Jeez. Reach, Pinfu, Dora. 3 Han. 30 because we know even though it is a closed hand, it's Pinfu Ron, so that's just 30. So we're at 39 because we're not the dealer, right? Yeah. Yeah, and it's not Tanya. Ching. Yay. Okay, yeah, so that's kind of how you use this. Correct, yeah, you don't need to calculate Fu if you do Pinfu every time. Yeah, just Pinfu 7 pairs or 5 Han every time. That's easy. Alright. Oh, that's pretty much it. Appreciate everybody for coming out. Got a lot of viewers today. Hopefully that helped. 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10. You're welcome. Thanks for coming to the lesson. I hope it helped. And I will try and upload this. And then I will probably, what I'll do in the YouTube is I'll take the VOD, put it on YouTube, and in the description I'll put the slides. And then if people want the slides, I can also send them. I do have to clean the slides up a little bit because I did miss a couple of things though on the typo. So I gotta clean that up and then I'll send it. Yep. All right. Well, let's see. Yeah, maybe we could raid somebody. Always like to end with a raid. Anyone that I'm following? Mahjong? No. All right. Let's see. It's like a lot of the people doing Mahjong Soul are in Japanese, so might be not great for y'all. Kind of the whole point of me doing this lecture is for people who don't speak Japanese, so also, yeah. Sakura Nights! Sakura Nights! Oh yeah, that's the Overlord. There's Overlord. Yep. Do that. The Whale Cup. That's crazy. We can do that. We can do Overlord. It's showed up. In my list. All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye. Also, probably just look up like my same username, hopefully, or on YouTube. Thank you.
you for it? Yeah, I mean, this is just us making. Sorry, Dora.